Welcome back to Old School Sports and our new series, Help Me Play Football Manager 2024 as Chelsea. And appreciate all of the help that several of you have been giving us as we get back into Football Manager after several years away. Bakester, appreciate the thoughts on tactics and transfers. Definitely have changed our formation a bit and some of the roles involved based on the input that you shared. Stanley Rosella and Henrik Varnick, similarly, thanks for the thoughts on tactics and strategy. And Stanley Rosella was also right in how upset the board and the fans were with our loss to Arsenal. And Dodo Dude, also, a lot of helpful thoughts on training and transfers and also the mentoring groups, which I've set up. I do remember that now from previous versions of the game, but had not done it. So, hopefully, we will be slowly but surely moving this team in a more positive direction. And the direction since we last were together has been positive. We got 2 victories in our last 2 games. Now, they were admittedly against West Ham and Burnley, who are, when we take a look at the English Premier Division, 2 of the lowest rated teams in the table, but we still were able to take care of business, which is important. West Ham on the road, though, this is a game that could use some thoughts from the experts on what we may want to change. You can see Zuma scored for them to put them ahead early in the first half. Then Madueke with a pair of goals before halftime gave us the 2-1 lead that we eventually held on to. But they dominated in terms of shots, outshooting us 24-6, despite us having 59% possession. So, any thoughts on how we can change that dynamic and turn a pretty dominant performance in terms of possession into more shots on goal would certainly be helpful. Next game after that was at home against Burnley, and also a good result for us here. We scored fast and furious in the first half. Raheem Sterling, assisted by Enzo Fernandez. And then our young striker, who we decided to start in the game, feeling that we might be able to afford playing some players who weren't quite as accomplished against Burnley. Nanto, with the first goal of his career in the first Premier League start of his career, also assisted by Fernandez, and then Conor Gallagher at 29 minutes, assisted by Raheem Sterling, who scored the first goal, gave us a 3-0 lead. And Dooney came back in the 77th minute to ruin the clean sheet for Sanchez, but still a pretty solid performance there. We were dominant in terms of time of possession, 90% of our passes completed, and 14 shots, including 8 on target. So a good performance there. Feel like we may have gotten a little bit lucky against West Ham, but we'll take the luck when it comes our way. And as you can see, with 11 points through our first 7 games, 3 wins, 2 draws, and 2 losses, right in the middle of the Premier League table, but with 6 points in our last 2 games since we were last together, that does represent pretty significant progress for us. And for those who are interested, we've got our player stats throughout our first 7 games of the Premier League up here for those who are interested in looking. Raheem Sterling and Madueke with 2 goals each lead the team in that category. And Sterling and Enzo Fernandez are tied with 2 assists. So still not a prolific offense by any stretch of the imagination. I mentioned have incorporated some feedback into our formation. We're still using the custom vertical tiki-taka formation, and it's been modified, through just playing the games from some of the feedback that was given to me, but I am trying to integrate it at times. And again, would appreciate any thoughts on this formation, which, as I mentioned, we dominated the time of possession in our first victory, but still were outshot 4-1. So any thoughts on how to generate more chances would be very helpful. As I mentioned, we've also set up some mentoring groups. We've kind of revised a bunch of our scouting recruitment focuses, set up a bunch of age-related focuses, a Wonder Kids type focus, and we're trying to deploy those resources as effectively as possible. And then we've also assigned all of our press conferences to one of our assistant coaches. If there's any downside from doing that, would love to hear about it in the comments. It's just something that I find very very tedious and not particularly rewarding. But if, and I know that, I can send a message to a player and those kind of things through the press conferences. So just wondering if there's any big significant things I need to worry about by not doing the press conferences myself. But I'm trying to, over time, start delegating the things that I care about less to my staff. Especially given that we've invested a lot in the staff, and then keep the things that I enjoy doing as I play the game. Taking a look at the staff at this point, and we're getting to a point where we're pretty fully staffed up. You can see we've got an excellent coaching staff at the Premier League level, pretty solid scouting at this point, and pretty good in terms of our medical team as well. Our under 21 staff is solid. Under 21 medical, very good as well relative to peers. And then the under 18 staff, we've also beefed up pretty significantly. So it's one of the better staffs there in terms of both coaching and medical. And there's still a handful of openings around that we have job ads out for. And we also have filled some spots just by interviewing people directly rather than waiting for them to apply. So feel like we've definitely bolstered both the quantity and quality of our coaching, recruitment, and medical teams over the first few months of this playthrough. And one final piece of news that's positive. Trevoh Chalobah, who had been hurt since the playthrough started, is finally healthy, severely lacking in match sharpness right now, but hoping that the 24-year-old who can play all over the pitch for us, particularly in the center and the right side as a defender, will be hopefully back and healthy and ready to contribute relatively soon, give us a little more diversification on defense. And if we do end up ultimately moving away from Thiago Silva over the next 9 months or so, Chalobah certainly will be in line for an even more prominent role as one of our defenders going forward. And we're getting ready for our next match against Newcastle, who are a point ahead of us in the Premier League table at this early stage of the season. Expectations are that we can get a draw on the road, according to the board and according to supporters. I think it's going to be tough for us, obviously, once I put this episode out there, and hopefully get some more thoughts and feedback from the experts who have been sharing their opinions with me. I'll feel a little better about how this team looks, but certainly going to be a much harder matchup than our last 2 games. Won't subject you to watching me play the entire game, but hopefully we will make some progress. Planning on at least beginning with the typical formation that we've been using, the vertical tiki-taka with a positive push from the team. So plan on keeping that there. Going to accept the opposition instructions. Not going to adjust things, as some of you have noted. We've kind of been evolving this style to what we want it to be, so certainly not going to push things there. Don't know how much we're going to really change as far as our attack duties, and we'll be looking forward to Chaloba being back relatively soon. Coincidentally, we also have U18 and U21 games both today. So we've authorized our under 21 coach to play Chaloba for up to 45 minutes as he tries to work his way back into match fitness. And we've made it to halftime. We've got a 2-1 lead, somewhat shockingly. Statistically, haven't been excellent. Got goals in the first half from striker Nicholas Jackson as well as forward Raheem Sterling, but Sterling also picked up a yellow card, so we will be bringing on Nanto at the start of the second half to take over for him, and another yellow card for Disasi. Told him to hopefully cool down a bit and keep things together in the second half. We'll likely be substituting for him in the next 15 or 20 minutes, but hoping to get a little more solid defense from him without picking up another card before we take him out of the game. And we've made it to the 59th minute, still holding a 2-1 lead here. And we're swapping out 3 of our defenders, bringing on Gusto, Curcurella, and Levi Colwill to kind of really bolster our defense to hopefully hold on to this 1-goal lead. Seemed like the team with the halftime speech that we gave reacted well to it. But now it says that they're all uninterested after the feedback. Any thoughts on what I said to cause that would be appreciated. I'm sure it's something some of you have experience with also, but they seemed fired up when I gave the halftime talk to them, but now they're all apparently uninterested, which is disappointing with over 30 minutes of play ahead of us. And it ended up being a very eventful second half. Jackson added a second goal for us in extra time. When we went into extra time, felt a little bit like we were going to get a little bit of the home field advantage against us, as there were 8 minutes of extra time. But we did score that goal 2 minutes into the extra time. You can see a pretty solid performance for us today, 56% possession, 2.5 expected goals, 22 shots, 13 on target. So overall, really pleased with earning a third straight victory. And Jackson, who was actually out of the lineup for our last game, I mentioned that we gave Nanto his first start. Jackson hadn't been playing well, seems to have responded well to the benching with 2 goals in his first game back. And certainly some good coming out of the game. As we mentioned, Jackson had been struggling over 10 hours of competitive soccer without a goal before that 42nd minute strike. And then, as we talked about, he added one in extra time. Disappointingly, we had to take Noni Madueke out of the game, dislocated shoulder, and he is going to be out for an extended period of time. Looks that he's going to be out for a couple of months. I think it makes sense to send him to the specialist. Maybe we can fix this recurring injury for good. Madueke has had a nice start to the season for us, and it's certainly going to be a loss to have him off of the roster basically until near the holiday season, most likely. So disappointing there. But we want to get him the best treatment possible. Still a ways back from Nkunku being available, and Fofana, unlikely we'll see him at all this season, maybe right near the end if everything goes well. But going to be an opportunity for some even younger players than the 21-year-old winger Madueke to get some playing time going forward with that injury. And with 3 consecutive wins now, we've moved up to 7th in the Premier League table, a 4-2-2 record with 14 points on the season. Our goal differential now +3. So given where we are on the table, that +3 differential isn't particularly impressive, but we'll take the close wins that we've generally been getting over our last few games. And in the under-21 game that I was mentioning was happening the same day, Chalobah did get his first action. Looks like he played a half for us. Unfortunately, it sounds like David Washington picked up an injury. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. He has only been on the Premier League squad for 3 games, but certainly with the injury to Madueke, the chances of perhaps bringing up another forward in the 18-year-old Brazilian would be a little bit higher for him to be making the game day roster more frequently. But Broja is another guy who ended up on the under-21 team, but certainly has played in 4 games for us thus far this season. And with Madueke gone, certainly in the mix for a little more action going forward as well. Another question for the experts here. I've gotten the feedback here that a number of players are upset about the quality of our training sessions. Broja, Colwill, Chilwell, and Nanto all reportedly unhappy with the high volume of quickness training that they have been asked to do. But when I look at our training calendar, we had 1 quickness training session about a week and a half ago at this point, and that's it for recently. And we don't have, that I can see, any other quickness training planned for the next few weeks. So just kind of wondering, is this just bad information, or does the fact that we just had a single quickness training session make them unhappy that we're perhaps working them a little bit too hard during the regular season? And we've got over a week and a half until our next scheduled match. I'm guessing it's either an international week or perhaps a cup week coming up. So we're probably about to finish up this episode. Thanks again to those of you who have shared ideas with me. Obviously a small sample size, but certainly winning 3 games in a row makes me feel like we're making a bit of progress with this team, even if at least one of those games we were very fortunate to win. Looking at the Premier Division Team of the Week, Jackson with the 2 goals, Moises Caicedo and Chilwell all on the Team of the Week. So very flattered to have 3 Chelsea players represented among the top 11. Looking at the injury update, month and a half to 2 months for Madueke. Fofana, as we talked about, still likely out for the year. And Nkunku hopefully will be back similar to when Madueke gets back. And then Bettinelli, the backup goalie, Chalobah, both back from longer-term injuries. And Enzo Fernandez did get a little banged up, missed 1 game, I believe, after he got hurt in the Manchester United game, but fortunately it was not that serious of an injury. And we've got a work permit issue, as we've had a few with Aaron Lujan, who we had made an offer to join us as a scout. He was an American who we interviewed. Pretty solid adaptability, player ability, and player potential judging skills, and also has some pretty good knowledge of some countries in North and South America and Central America that we don't have as much expertise on our staff. So hopefully we'll be able to get the work permit issued for him worked out and have him join us in the not too distant future. And with that, we'll conclude the episode. You can see we've got a bit of a gap till our next games. Brighton at home, Bournemouth on the road, and Aston Villa our next three. So Brighton at home, would hope that we can get 3 points out of that one. Looking based on the league table, though, that certainly the 2 games after that will be a bit more challenging for us. So hopefully we will continue the strong form that we've had recently with those 3 consecutive wins in the Premier League after some struggles in the early part of the season. Until our next episode, thanks so much for watching and hope you have a great day.